Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to start by apologising for the state of me. I've just been to see Rise of Skywalker, and I may or may not definitely have had a little cry about 3 times and quite a bit at the end. That's as close as I'll ever get to spoilers. I won't ever do spoilers, but I did cry. So yes, apologies for the state of me, but yeah, a bit of mosh. So, me and Star Wars, right? This is a saga all of its own. It's not really. Vaguely interested as a kid, saw the original films. I think back in the day they weren't on the telly. I think you only got to see them if somebody you know already owned them or had taped them off the telly when they were on the telly. But in the late 90s, I want to say about 97, 98, and I could be wrong, the original trilogy got re-released to the cinema because they were around 20 years old. And me and my friend Gemma went, I can't even remember the cinema, that's so weird, isn't it? The UCI at the Metro Centre. And I definitely saw A New Hope, and I might have seen the next one. What's the next one? Return of the Jedi. No, Empire. What order do they come in? I've gone blank. Oh my god, the Star Wars fans like bursting into flames right now. Empire second. Jedi is third. First, second, third, but fifth, sixth. No, fourth, fifth, sixth. Yeah, I do know what I'm talking about, honest. And then when the new ones came out, which aren't the new ones anymore, episode 1, Phantom Menace, that was about 98, and I was 16, 17 when that came out. And do you know what? I'm going to hold my hands up here and admit it. I quite liked it. Now, I know this is an unpopular opinion, but for me, this was seeing Star Wars, new Star Wars, in the cinema for the first time. You know, like I say, I'd seen the original trilogy, or at least a couple of them on the big screen, but this was brand new Star Wars, and it had Ewan McGregor in, and Liam Neeson, and do you know what? I didn't hate Jar Jar. I liked the pod race, and like I say, I know this is really unpopular, but fair enough, I wasn't a kid, but I was still quite young, and they looked good, and they were lots of fun. So I've seen the Phantom Menace quite a lot of times because my then boyfriend, shout out to James, he was a big Star Wars fan, and I remember buying him the Phantom Menace on VHS because I was an excellent girlfriend. And then Clones came out, and Hayden Christensen was Planky McPlankinson. Natalie Portman slightly more charismatic than she had been in the Phantom Menace, but that doesn't take much. And then finally, whatever the third one's called. What's the third one called? Revenge of the Sith? Is it? I don't know. I'm very tired. Third one, I mean, this is interesting. It's not, but it is if you're me, and I am. I've just sat in screen 4 of the Odeon that I used to work in, and that's the exact same screen that I sat in to watch episode 3, whatever its subtitle is, at a midnight screen. And so that's quite exciting that I saw the end of the first part of the story, albeit told second, and then I saw the end of the last part of the story as well, in the same screen. Not in the same seat, but roughly. Yeah, and I quite liked episode 3. I thought there was a lot in it to like. I liked the idea of, I mean, Jimmy Smith's taking away baby Luke and Leia. That was pretty cool. And I mean, I said no spoilers. These are spoilers about Sith, but that was a long time ago. Yeah, there was moments in it again that I liked, and but they were what they were, and obviously they haven't aged particularly well. Weirdly, in some ways they've aged more or worse than the original trilogy did from the 70s and early 80s. And then the new stuff came along, and I saw Force Awakens at the cinema and Rogue One. Thoroughly enjoyed both of them. I didn't see The Last Jedi. I'm nearly 5 minutes and I haven't even started talking about Rise of Skywalker yet. Yes, so I saw Force Awakens when Last Jedi came out. I don't know why I didn't see it at the cinema. I guess by that time Pete and I weren't together, so I'd seen Force Awakens with him. And I just didn't get around to it because this was before the days of my Limitless, when I didn't go a lot, and now I do, and it's the best. So yeah, Last Jedi totally passed me by. So this very week, following on from the fact that My daughter, who's 11, has seen all of them, completed it, mate. Because she went with her dad, my ex. On Boxing Day, my sister sent her future husband and her son off to see it, and their reaction when they came in, and my nephew is 17 tomorrow. That just nearly made me throw up in my mouth a little bit, like, how did that happen? And he was so clearly, like, moved and awestruck by Rise of Skywalker, and it was such a lovely thing to see, and I was like, I need to get my act together and I need to go and see it. So I borrowed on DVD Force Awakens and Last Jedi from my lovely friend Chelsea, and over the course of this week I've watched both of them. I'll admit I nodded off during The Force Awakens, nothing to do with the film, I'm just always tired. And then I watched Last Jedi when I was poorly the other day, so I fell asleep about 3 times and had to keep finding where I was up to. However, I was primed to go and see Skywalker tonight, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I really liked what Rian Johnson did with Last Jedi. I know a lot of diehard Star Wars fans don't, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed his touch and his flair. This felt very J.J. Abrams. It felt very Star Wars, but love them or hate them or feel indifferent to them or feel very passionate about them, there is something about sitting in a cinema and seeing that logo, seeing the words Star Wars on the screen and the music, and it's just, it's that magic of cinema and George Lucas and everything he created, and the John Williams score, and the Rise of Skywalker. And again, this is not spoilers, but it is littered with references and nods and homages to the original 3. It really ticks sort of all those fanboy boxes, or I hope it does. I mean, some will never be happy, but it's nostalgic, it's a satisfying conclusion to a 9-film saga. It made me laugh a lot. There's some great gags in it. It made me bawl, as I said at the beginning. And I enjoyed it. You know, I'm not out to pick it apart. Is it perfect? No. Are any of them perfect? No. Are the 3 episode 1 to 3 fairly ropey? Yes. But as a saga, as a story told over 9 films, over 30 years, to manage to wrap that up, which I think they do, or J.J. Abrams does really well. I keep pointing behind me because that's where the cinema is. In there, where I watched it, I think he does a really good job, because it wasn't easy. You had a lot of loose ends to tie up. Really emotional seeing Carrie Fisher on screen, knowing that she's no longer with us, and of course Peter Mayhew, who inhabited the Chewbacca costume as well. So that made me quite sad. The core 3, if you like, of John Boyega as Finn, Daisy Ridley as Rey, and Oscar Isaac as Poe, I loved. And I think I love what they've built with their friendship and their sort of them carrying the weight of the films. I loved seeing them together as a team. There was lovely throwbacks to, you know, the original team of Luke and Leia and Han and Chewie and Lando. I also remembered that in Scrubs, Billy D. Williams was in it a few times, and Turk, Donald Faison's character, always referred to him as Lando, was incapable of using his real name, and that came back to me during the film and it just really tickled me. But yeah, the score is incredible. There's lovely themes that hark back, that sort of, you know, Leia's got her own piece of music, and the Imperial March is heard a few times, or, you know, and it's just, yeah, like I say, it's nostalgic, but it's new and it's wonderful, and it's just glorious. It looks great. It's really paced well, so there's no real flabby bits. It hits the ground running. There's action a go. And like I say, to have to wrap up 9 films, a 3-decade project in 2.5 hours, I take my hat off to you, Mr. Abrams. You did a cracking job. Really loved the central cast. Massive props to Daisy Ridley, because she carries the film pretty much on her small shoulders, and I thought she did exceptionally well. Yeah, just a joy, an absolute joy. Get involved, you know, just just enjoy it for what it is. It's a Star Wars film. And do you know what? The world is largely bollocksed. We're probably going to be at war within the next, God knows, like 12 months because of the orange buffoon. So just go and enjoy Star Wars. Just, you know, go and spend some time in a galaxy far, far away with characters that you know, that you've got to know over the last 3 films, and characters that you got to know over 30 years ago. Just, yeah, embrace everything that it is, which is a fun, wonderful, funny space romp. I really wish I hadn't said that, but I have, and it's out there now, or it will be when I upload this. I'm approaching the 11-minute mark, so it's time to shut up. Thank you for listening, watching, like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. For now, Katie in a car saying goodnight.